Thank you, Miss Mary Lee. Just a few quick announcements that we do have. Again, ladies' Bible study tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for all the ladies. Pray that you'll come out, and as my wife is going through the book of Revelation, hope that you'll enjoy that time of study together. Pray that it'll be a blessing to you. Also, please remember that this coming Saturday is our annual Fall Festival, okay? It is coming up quick. So this Saturday, 6 o'clock, if you signed up for a booth, sign-up sheet's in the back, okay? If you can't remember whether you did or not, you need to look, because I'm going to need you there just a little bit before 6, maybe about 5:45 or so. I'll try to have everything already set up, everything ready to go out and the different places you'll be. I'll just need a warm body there. There'll be candy there for everybody, all that stuff. No, not for you, Rick. I saw he perked up real quick just then. That's my job. Just remember that, okay? But no, just make sure you're here on time. There'll be plenty for everybody to do. There'll be plenty of things for the kids to do. Don't have to worry about bringing a costume for the children. Nothing. It's just a time for us to get together. There'll be hot coffee and hot apple cider. And so just a time for us to get together and enjoy some time of fellowship, because on the 27th, we have Brother Scott Savinsky coming in all the way through November the 1st. It's funny to say that in about a week and a half. It's going to be November already. But he'll be here the 27th, that Sunday morning. And then we're having, right after that, a meal. And we're asking for everybody to bring meat, dessert, and sides, okay? Bring everything there, and we'll take care of the drinks. And then thank you for everybody that signed up to take care of meals. That's a huge blessing. It's bad when you have to wait till the Sunday they get here and you're still scrambling for somebody to take care of that. Everything's been taken care of. Thank you so much for everybody. And if you need to know whether you signed up or not, see Miss Ann. She's got the list, because some of y'all are going, what day did I sign up? I'm going to try to have that in the bulletin for next week, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, those that have signed up, so you know what days that you have signed up, okay? And then do me a favor. Please make sure that you take time when you put things in the offering plate, that you take care of filling out the offering envelopes completely. Just makes it easier for when they're counting the money, of things that are designated, where it goes. Put your name somewhere on it so they know who to give credit to where it goes. So do us that favor and take care of that for this Sunday also. Take your Bibles and turn to Psalms 58. Psalms 58. Entitled my message, Accusation, Judgment, and Execution. This psalm, again, is penned by David and is a very personal psalm. This is something that David feels is happening to him. But he's written this through divine providence, through divine inspiration, and he's made it public to help us also. It is not known when the psalm was penned or who the psalm is penned about, but there are some people who had some ideas, and I have some myself. The first one they think of is Saul, because if you look in verse 1, he's talking about judging someone. It says, do ye judge righteously, O ye sons of men? Saul, again, we know that Saul did not have a love for David. He did at the beginning, and that love quickly faded and went to hatred, to the point that he tried to kill David on multiple occasions, hunted him down, tried to kill him. But Saul here was David's judge and persecutor, who endeavored to hide his persecution under the appearance of a righteous judgment. In other words, what he was saying is this: I'm going to try to kill David because I'm the judge, and I'm saying that what he's doing is wrong. And since I'm the king, nobody's going to tell me that I'm wrong. Okay, I mean, nobody's going to go to the king and go, what you did was wrong. He's saying, and I'm going to use my being a judge, because he was judge, jury, and executioner. He could do all three. He was judging David using his authority in the wrong way. But then you also see, I think, another person could be Absalom. Who was Absalom? David's son. Okay, remember that. David's son, who made the administration of justice, trying to usurp the authority over David, a means of stealing from David the people's hearts in Israel as he tried to be impartial. He was running to David and acting one way, and running to the people of Israel and acting another way. And oh, he's such a good man, they were both looking at, when really he was doing his own bidding to try to lure away the people from David. And so we see David brings here in these verses an accusation in verses 1 through 5, his call for judgment in verses 6 through 8, and the execution of those judgments in verses 9 through 11. So let's read these verses, the accusation, judgment, and execution, and look at this chapter this evening. It says, first of all, chapter 58 of Psalms, will start in verse 1 and read, "Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. As a snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away, like the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Before your pots can feel the thorns, they shall take them away, as with the whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that a man shall say, Verily, there is a reward for the righteous. Verily, he is a God that judgeth in the earth." Let's look firstly at the accusation in verses 1 through 5. We see that David's enemies, I believe here, it says, "Oh, indeed, do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation?" His enemies have kind of come together, and they made a little pact to speak against David, to say things against David, to make everybody think that David is wrong and that David's committed some horrible sin and some horrible act. And so they're trying to throw light out there to people to show that David is a wicked person. And this is what they've come together. But can I just say this to you? Not everything that people say is true. We've learned that through the internet, haven't we? You know, it's interesting. I saw something one time somebody put up on there. It was quite funny. It said, "You can't always believe what you read on the internet." It was a quote, and it was from Abraham Lincoln. And so I thought that was quite interesting that, you know, he wasn't around during the internet, but people were throwing that up there as a pun, as a joke to go ha, 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 and see how many people would get it. And you got to think about it. This is what we look at when somebody says something. Many times we take it for truth. You look at the news and somebody says that such and such did something, and we take it for truth because that person said something. We don't ever bother to do any research or look, and this is what he's trying to say here. He's trying to let them know, do you honestly speak righteousness, O congregation? The true meaning behind this verse is to grow speechless or dumb. These enemies of David have come together and have closed their mouths to righteousness and to truth. In other words, they won't speak righteousness, they won't speak truth, but they'll speak other things. He's saying, how long are you going to continue speaking righteousness? He's saying this, you know, are you speaking righteousness? Are you being truthful? They're wicked, they're evil, and they will not speak the truth about David. And so David's asking him, how long are you going to keep doing this? He looks at them and says in the next part of that verse, "Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men?" With their authority, are they judging uprightly? Are they judging correctly? Are they judging in truth and in justice? Or are they judging out of impartiality? This is what he's trying to tell them here. Is their judgment incorrect because of their love for sin and wickedness? Do you think there are any wicked judges in the world today? Do you think there are any wicked politicians in the world today? Do you think there are any wickedness like that runs around? Of course there is. This world is full of wicked people. And he's saying, how long are you going to do that? Sometimes we can do that. We can make a wrong judgment about something or someone because we're looking at it through sinful eyes. And this is what he's saying here. He's going, how long are you going to do this? Are you going to judge righteously? Or are you going to be judging wickedness? Which one are you going to do? Because David here is trying to let them know, I haven't done anything. And you haven't bothered to look for the truth. You're doing this out of a wicked and reprobate heart. Because look what he says in verse 2. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. David accuses them of having wickedness in their heart. Deep down, they are wicked. And guess where that all begins? In the heart. Wicked thoughts begin in our heart. Wicked actions begin in our heart. Wicked words begin in our heart. They begin here and they come out in our body in different places. And this is what he's saying here. He doesn't say they actually have wickedness in their heart, but look what it says in verse 2. They work wickedness in their heart. This is where it begins and the idea forms, and they begin to work around it to get it to fruition. And he's saying, hey, you're working wickedness in your heart. See, it begins there, and then it shows itself there also. And folks, when you see people doing wicked things, it always begins in the heart. He then accuses them in verse 2. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. He accuses them of calculating their wickedness. You know, it's not just something they did spontaneously. They've thought about it. You know, they talk about that, you know, if you do something intentionally. You thought about that before you did it. I mean, there's some people that don't do it, that do it, you know, as an accident. Not them. They thought about it. It says, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. You're thinking of this. You're pondering it. How can I get away with it? How can I do this? And this is what David is pointing that accusing finger at them. This is what you did. They began planning it in their hearts, and it came out in their hands. But then he goes down to verse 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. He tells us that all men are wicked and vile from birth. Did y'all realize that? There's not a one man, woman, or child on this earth that when they were born, they were the perfect little angels we thought they were. They're not. We're all born in sin. We're all born sinners. This is something we need to understand. And he's trying to tell them this. He's saying, the wicked are estranged from the womb. Hey, as soon as you came out the womb, the wickedness was there, and it hasn't gone away. They come from the womb speaking lies and have evil as their main thoughts. And folks, this is true for every man or woman sitting in here tonight. You know, we don't have to teach our children to be evil, do we? We don't. You deal with enough little ones, you'll understand that they can be just downright mean. They want that, what do they do? I'm going to bite you. I'm going to kick you. I'm going to hit you because I want it. I didn't want it a minute ago. I want it now. Give it to me. Whack. They don't care. They don't care. I've been back in the 1-year-old with literal 1-year-olds, and little Johnny's got a toy. Little Sally wants the toy. Whack in the head. Takes the toy. Although Johnny's going, ah! You're going, what'd you hit him for? Because I wanted the toy. When they get a little older and they can start articulating a little better, they'll tell you, I wanted the toy. Whack! I got the toy. Pretty simple, right? Nobody had to teach them that. No older brother had to come along and go, oh, I watched my older brother whack me in the head, so I'm whacking somebody else. No, all they had to do is instill them at birth. This is how they are. This is how we are. We are wicked because we have a depraved nature. This is what we need to see. And he's saying about these ones, hey, they came out the womb like that. It even says that they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. You don't have to teach a child to lie, do you? Parents, did y'all have a class with your 1-year-old and 2-year-old and 3-year-old about lying? Now, let me show you how to do it properly. No. They whacked their brother in the head. You watched the whole thing. It was right in front of you. Did you hit your brother? You didn't say, if you hit your brother, I'm going to give you a spanking. You said, did you hit your brother? You watched him take the toy and whack him in the head. He's laying on the ground crying. Did you hit your brother? He's got the instrument that bludgeoned his brother in the head in his hand. We don't have to teach a child to lie, folks. They come out the womb lying. And it doesn't get any better. Just remember that, okay? This is what he's saying here. Then he talks about In verse 4 and 5, David compares these people to snakes. It says their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They're like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. You know, the first time that we ever heard the snake, or a snake, a serpent, was during the Garden of Eden, wasn't it? That snake was not something that anybody wanted to be called. It was a snake. You're considered a snake in the grass. It means you're cheating and cunning and lying. It's not a good thing. He's saying, hey, their poison is like the poison of a snake, of a serpent. Not something you like to be called. But it says here that their words, their deeds are so vile that they're like poison, and they will cripple and they will kill. He's telling us this here. It's like they're like the dead, deaf adder. Don't want to get bitten by an adder. This is what he's trying to say here, that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. They won't listen. That's why it says stopping up her ears. Now, I know you've never seen a snake doing this, because snake doesn't have hands. So understand that. Snake doesn't stop us. What it's saying is it won't listen. You ever seen on maybe a video one of those snake charmers? They say like in India they play the flute or whatever it was, and they would bring the snake up, and the snake would come up, and it was supposed to be listening to that guy do that snake charming. He's saying you can't even get the snake here of these people to do anything. They refuse to listen. They won't take anybody's advice. They stopped their ears up, and they said, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do. He's accusing them of not listening to righteousness. He's accusing them of not listening to holiness. And he's accusing them not to have the right kind of justice. Because remember, this is all being pointed at David. So we see, number one, the accusation. We see, number two, the judgment in verses 6 through 8. And he starts right off, break their teeth. Wow. God, here's your judgment you need to lay on them. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Now, if you go back to verses 4 and 5, who is he talking about? What kind of an animal? A snake. So we see here, he's comparing them to snakes, and now he's asking God to break those fangs in that snake's mouth so that a snake can no longer bite. And if it does, it can't gum you to death. Can't hurt you any because the teeth are broken. See, the teeth is what was causing the problem. The teeth is what was causing the mischief. Hey, God, break those teeth so they can't do any more mischief to us. Break those teeth so they can't hurt me anymore. Let them try to bite, and there's nothing there. It doesn't hurt. Keep going. It says, break out the great teeth of the young lions. Here he's talking about the young lions. They need these teeth. We're talking about the eye teeth of the young lion. They're the strongest, and they're used to grind their food. Hey, God, break those teeth. Get rid of those teeth. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, if a dog looks at you and goes and shows its teeth, like, you know they mean business. I'm not doing that to scare you. Well, I don't want to get close enough to a lion to watch it grit its teeth. But I guarantee you it means business. And it's going to take you, and it's going to bite you, and it's going to tear you, it's going to rip you, it's going to do whatever he can. You know what he's saying? Hey, for the judgment of God, break those things' teeth. Now, what will happen if you break that lion's teeth? As a judgment? Can't eat anymore. It can no longer devour. You know what's going to happen to that lion pretty soon? It's going to die. It's going to die. Break its teeth. Now, you may look at a snake and go, well, all a snake can do with its teeth is just bite, right? No. Snake use those teeth to actually draw the food in as they're swallowing. They need those teeth to help them. Break the teeth, God. What's going to happen to the snake if you don't have any teeth? It's going to die. Do you see what he's saying here? Hey, here's the judgment. Make it a harsh one, God. Break their teeth. Make it to where they can do no more mischief, to where they cannot hurt anymore. They cannot destroy. They cannot pounce. They cannot do these things because it won't matter. God, break their teeth. Judge them according to their works. How was the young lion going to hurt you? With its teeth. How was the asp or the adder going to hurt you? With its teeth. It was going to bite. It was going to give the poison. Break their teeth, God. Make it to where they can't do anything more. But then he even says this in verse 7, let them melt away as water which run continually. David wants God to move them along quickly. Okay? If you've ever been beside a rushing river, a river that moves quickly, the water that's there when you first look at it is gone within a few seconds, isn't it? I mean, I remember as a kid, we had a creek behind our house and the water would get moving on a rainy day like this, and we'd see it, and I would take a leaf, throw it in the middle of the creek, and watch it as it goes down. Anybody ever done that? Maybe you made a boat when you were a kid and put it on there and watch it go down. Well, if you put it here, after a few seconds, it's going to be somewhere down there, and it's going to be moving quickly. Especially with the rain we had today, it's going to be moving things quickly along. David's here saying, hey, God, move them along quickly. Get them out of here. Let the current take them and be gone from them. I don't want them around anymore. This is what he's saying here. Move them along quickly. It says in the last part of that verse, verse 7, when he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. When the enemy does try to come and make war with David, let their bows break and their arrows miss their mark. Let it to be as when they're pulling that bow back with the arrow there, that the arrow just kind of snaps. The bow breaks, and they can't let loose the arrow. Make it to where their tries of war doesn't work. You know what? God can do that. God can move that arrow to where it misses you. God can move that arrow to where it doesn't even get launched. And there's nothing wrong with praying that way, folks. That God would cause the enemy to fail. I know people say, oh, you should pray that God would let the enemy come to him. Yes, by failing. By letting him not be able to do what he wants to do. It's not a problem to pray that way. And this is what David's saying. God, let them fail. Judge them according to their works. I've accused them. But look what else it says in verse 8. As a snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away. Now, isn't that interesting? How many of y'all ever seen a snail move across the ground? It goes really slow, doesn't it? But it also leaves something behind that looks like it's melting, doesn't it? It's the mucus that's on that snail, and it's going across. He's going, as the snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away. Well, it looks as if he's dissolving, as if he's melting. And this is what David's praying for his enemies. Hey, God, let them dissolve away. Let them, as they're moving, just kind of slowly move down to where there's nothing left. I mean, what's interesting is a snail shell. You ever seen the snail, and when they're done, there's nothing in it? You can kind of take that shell and just kind of crack it, can't you? I mean, there's not a whole lot of substance to it. You can just stand there and just crush that shell because there's nothing in it. They thought it was there for their protection, right? Hey, I'll go in the shell and I'll live and I'll be just fine. But as they melt away, as they're moving away, he's saying, God, let them pass away. In other words, he's also saying in that verse, looking for that last part, the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Let them make it like they've never been born. Folks, that's rough. See, the enemies of David were trying to make a name for themselves by getting rid of David. He's going, God, make it to where it's not like they're not even born. Make it to where they're not even around. Make it to where nobody remembers their names. Like the untimely birth of a child. Make it to where they're not important. So we see the accusation, we see the judgment, and now we see finally in verses 9 through 11, the execution of God's judgment. This is what God is going to do to them. Or this is what David's wanting God to do to them, okay? Look at verse 9. It says, before your pots can feel the thorns, he shall take them away, as with the whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. Now, you may not understand what that means here by the pot and the thorns, but what he's saying here is, a lot of times when they would cook, they would put a pot on something that looked like a triangle, and they put the pot in the middle, put the fire underneath, and that's where they put their meat and their different things in to cook for however long it was going to cook. This is what they would do. And what he's saying here is he's saying, hey, instead of let them get everything set up, God, let them have the pot, let them have the meat, even let them put the wood underneath. But as soon as they go to light the fire, blow it out. Now, what's that going to cause to have happen? Anybody? They want what? They're going to go hungry, aren't they? They're going to feel like a failure because they can't get a fire started. How am I going to eat this meat that I've gotten? How am I going to provide for my family? David's saying, let them suffer. Don't even let the flame get started. Don't let the pot get hot. Don't let them be able to cook anything. Because you notice what it says in the last part of that verse, it says, he shall take them away as with the whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. In other words, he's going to be coming along going, you get nothing. You're trying to start that fire to have some food, but I'm not going to let it happen. This is the execution. What happens if you can't eat? Yeah, Woody was going earlier. You die. That's called the execution. Hey, you die. God, let them think they've got all these things taken care of. I've got my meat for my sustenance. I've got my pot here. I've even got fire. I've got wood. I've got everything I need. And then when I go to light it, wait a minute. This didn't work out like I had planned. I've been there, folks, where you get the fire, you get the wood, you try to get the fire started, and all you get smoke. You're going, I don't see any flames here. What's going on? Something isn't right. Well, this is what's going on here. David's going, God, let them think they have the upper hand. Let them think they've got all the answers. But let them see how miserably wrong they are and the execution that comes because of it. You see, look at verse 10. I think this is interesting. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. Now, I know what we think of this because I've had people tell me this. You should never enjoy when somebody fails. But the righteous should rejoice when the enemies of God fail. Now, there's a difference. I'm going to get down here because some of y'all are going to look at me like, go, wait a minute. If you've got somebody that you're feuding with, if you've got somebody that you just don't like, if you've got somebody that you have problems with, that's not somebody that's attacking you as a Christian, possibly. Somebody may have just rubbed you wrong. Somebody may have looked at you wrong. Folks, we're not talking about karma. By the way, there's no such thing as that. I'm not talking about karma. What we're talking about here is when we see the wicked, and we're talking about the wicked. We're not talking about somebody that they just don't like me or this. That's not the wicked. If I see Miss Candy over here and somebody is persecuting Miss Candy because of her faith, that's the wicked. Okay, y'all follow me? But if I'm seeing somebody picking on Miss Candy because she cut them off in traffic and they're angry, that's not the wicked. Please understand that. That may make us think wicked thoughts about Miss Candy because she cut me off in traffic and now I'm angry. That's different. See what I'm saying? We need to make sure we understand the wicked. It is fine for us when we see someone that's wicked that God judges and God executes his judgment upon them. We should rejoice. Do you think David rejoiced whenever they quit chasing him and quit trying to kill him whenever Saul did? You better believe it. Do you think he rejoiced? I mean, I know it was hard for Absalom because it was his son, but do you think he rejoiced after the commotion was over? Of course. We should rejoice when the wicked are defeated. Because look what it says. Verse 10, he shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Now, I know that sounds pretty gross. I don't want to wash my feet in anybody's blood. Just what he's saying here is this. He's saying that the wicked will be so removed. There'll be so much of it that God's going to execute his judgment upon it There'll be enough that it'll be so deep that I can wash my feet in it of their blood because of the wicked. Now think about this. What is going to happen? What is the ultimate punishment for the wicked today upon this earth? Hell. Do you know that for us that know Christ as our Savior, that's where we should be? But they've been given the punishment. We have also been given that punishment. Through the grace of God, we have been saved from that punishment. But we still deserve it. Our enemies, the wicked, if they were to get what they deserve, they would get just this. And one day they will, unless the Lord intervenes in their life. And that's what we need to understand. Because look at the last one here. Verse 11. So that a man shall say, verily there is reward for the righteous. Verily he is a God that judgeth in the earth. You know what it's going to say here? He just says a man. He doesn't say the righteous. He doesn't say the wicked. It's just man in general is going to look and see what God has done from the accusation to the judgment and to the execution. That man is going to say, verily, there is a God in the earth that judgeth. Verily, there is a God for the righteous. It's going to open their eyes to see that there is a God. When God brings these judgments, see, is there a reward for the righteous? It's called heaven, folks. Yes, there's a reward for the righteous. And they're going to see it. Verily, there is a reward for the righteous. Then he's going to look and say, verily, he is a God that judgeth in the earth. Yes, he's going to judge those people. He's going to judge the quick and the dead. He's going to judge man. You're going to stand before him at the great white throne, judgment. This is what he's saying. Hey, God, I've got some accusations to bring. This is the judgment that needs to come. And God, I'd like for you to execute that judgment. Do you think God executed judgment upon Saul? Yeah. How about Absalom? Yeah. Was it a righteous judgment? Yeah. Yeah. Saul had every chance to get things right with God and chose not to. Even when Samuel came to him and said, what is this bleating of the sheep I hear in my ear? He blamed it on everybody else but him. He could have fallen upon his knees before a righteous God and gotten things right, but he didn't. And he just kept on going. See, this is what we need to see tonight. The accusations, the judgment, and the execution. And folks, there's ones out there that are going to be persecuting you for your faith, not for your lifestyle, not for this, that, or the other, but for your faith. Guess what we should do? God, we need to look and see, God, I bring an accusation, the judgment, and execution, and then leave it in God's hands to do that work. Let's bow our heads, please, tonight. With heads bowed and eyes closed, I'm not going to give an invitation per se tonight. Maybe tonight you just need to come to this altar and pray for those that maybe are persecuting you, that are coming about and bringing things up, that are persecuting you because you are living for the Lord. Maybe tonight you need to come and do business with God right here at this altar. Gracious Heavenly Father, I pray tonight, Lord, as the invitation is given, Lord, that thou wast move in hearts, to let them see, Lord, that thou dost hear our prayers, and thou dost answer them according to thy will. I pray this all in Jesus' holy and precious name. Amen. With heads bowed and eyes closed, let's stand together, please. As Miss Rosie plays the song of invitation, if you need to come, won't you come and do business with God?